Extremely huge, unprecedented protests are currently taking place in two major countries in Europe. In Turkey, currently across the entirety of the country, hundreds of thousands of people are protesting against the government of Erdogan. And in the country of Serbia, millions are currently protesting against the government of Aleksandar Vučić. These protests are absolutely fascinating, so in today's video, first of all I would like to discuss why these protests are so important, react to them from a point of view of a Russian citizen who is, familiar with what it's like to live in an oppressive government that hates its citizens. And also, in this video I have a special warning to all the Americans watching, because these protests currently happening in Turkey and Serbia are actually pretty emblematic of the issues that America is either facing right now or is about to face. Hey there people, it is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian, and let's get right into it. Let's talk about the absolutely insanely huge protests currently happening in Turkey and Serbia and also discuss why they're so important. So let's start out with talking about the protests currently happening in Turkey, starting on March 19th of 2025, as a result of the massive arrest of the opposition leaders. Literally over 100 members of the opposition got arrested on terrorism charges, including the mayor of Istanbul, Ekrem İmamoğlu, who is a massively popular opposition figure in Turkey and is also considered by many to be the main rival of Erdogan. Now look guys, here's the thing. I don't claim to be an expert on Turkey in any way, and I still want to have the opportunity to visit Turkey, and I've already been a couple of times. I enjoyed it, and I'm also a man, so I can end up becoming bald, and if I cannot go to Turkey, then it's over for me. But look, I've always kind of felt like I do understand what Turkish people are feeling and going through, because I'm from Russia, right? And I understand that Turkish people might have an issue with the fact that they've had the same exact person in power for 23 years now. You see guys, I come from Russia, and we also have a country where we had the exact same guy in power for 25 years in a row, so I get it, okay? And obviously a lot of people in Turkey at this point have had negative feelings towards the government, and this right now, the arrest of the mayor of Istanbul on terrorism charges is kind of what blew the whole thing up. A lot of media from all over is reporting this right now, so to give you guys the best view of the story, here I am on the website of Ground News. Here I am on an article about how Turkey said that there's over 1,000 people that have been arrested in 5 days during the protests, and Turkey has actually issued a clear warning to protesters to, stop resisting. And if you guys are not familiar with Ground News is actually the ultimate news aggregator, the ultimate news comparison website that allows you to see what is behind the news that you consume, and it shows you the political bias, the factuality, and the ownership of every single source. So here in this article, Ground News shows me that there's a total of 342 news sources that cover this topic, and I can actually go down and individually check out every single source and click on them. And another feature of Ground News that I personally love is the interactive map, which actually shows you breaking news currently happening in any particular location. I personally really enjoy using Ground News. I believe it's a great tool that allows you to see the agenda behind the news you're consuming and also kind of get out of your information bubble. And if you guys would like to check it out for yourself, then go over to the link down in the description to ground.news/NFKRZ, subscribe through my link and get 40% off of the Vantage plan, which is exactly what I use. Huge thanks once again to Ground News for sponsoring this video, and let's get right back into it. So yes, the protests that are currently happening in Turkey are pretty much unprecedented in their size. Turkey is definitely one of those countries that is usually portrayed as, sort of based conservative, and it's one of those countries that's usually portrayed as if nobody there has any issue with the government and what is going on, right? And what we're seeing right now in Turkey clearly shows that, that is not the case. And now guys, I want to talk about why what is happening in Turkey is currently pretty relevant to what is already happening and what is about to happen in America. You see, once again, like I said, the mayor of Istanbul and 100 other opposition members were essentially arrested on terrorism charges. And not only that, but the Istanbul University actually revokes the degree of İmamoğlu, the mayor of Istanbul, so that he can no longer run in any future elections for president. Yes, by the way, in Turkey, according to law, in order to run for president, you need to have a degree. And they took it away from him. Absolutely incredible, right? Well, the thing is, the biggest problem with this here is that Turkey, like many other authoritarian countries, has very vague and very wide definitions of terrorism. This is actually the exact same thing as in Russia. In Russia, for example, Alexei Navalny, the main opposition politician who used to be seen as Putin's main rival or whatever, he was labeled and called a terrorist, an extremist. His entire political organization and everybody who's ever works with him was also labeled as terrorists and extremists. And just recently, for example, the LGBTQ movement has been considered as extremist in Russia, right? So all I'm saying is, when you have an authoritarian government, it is very, very convenient to just call everybody terrorists and get rid of anybody you don't like. And actually, guys, we might have something similar kind of brewing in the United States right now. I mean, first of all, some right-wing people in America are currently calling for Tesla vandalism to be considered a terrorist act. Yes. If this were to happen, then everybody who would, write Nazi or write a swastika on a Cybertruck to, spy the owner and Elon Musk or whatever, they would literally be considered a terrorist, which is a little bit extreme in my opinion. And also in America right now, you already have people being arrested for free speech on completely nonsensical terrorism charges. For example, the case of Mahmoud Khalil, the pro-Palestinian protester and organizer in Columbia University, who is an immigrant in the United States who had a green card and who essentially got kidnapped and disappeared by the United States government, and he's had his green card revoked for terrorism, supposedly. And all the guy did is protested against Israel, so that to me seems like a bit of an issue. It's a bit of a contradiction to the entire concept of free speech and the land of the free and the home of the brave, right? And I get it, you may not agree with the guy's cause, sure, but this is the start of a pretty scary trend. And if it continues, then America will become just like Russia or Turkey. Yes guys, what can I say? Pretty depressing, but let's move on to another protest that by far is even crazier in its size, scale, and just also how unprecedented it is. And I, of course, am talking about the protests currently happening in the country of Serbia. Now, the protests in Serbia, I mean, they're absolutely insane, to be honest. I've never seen anything like it ever before. They've been going on for actually several months at this point. And this is literally a case, by the way, where to me it looks like the entire country is protested, okay? Like, it is absolutely insane. I've never seen anything like this. First rallies started gathering like hundreds of thousands of people. Some rallies in Belgrade, the capital of Serbia, supposedly had over 1 million people. People also marched on foot from Novi Sad to Belgrade. I mean, just the unity of the Serbian people right now and how everybody's on the streets, I'm actually a little bit jealous. I'm not gonna lie. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Now, the story and the reason for the Serbian protest is actually very, very sad. Essentially, what happened is that in the Serbian city of Novi Sad, which is Serbia's second largest city, a roof collapsed in a newly built railway station that was supposedly built in collaboration with China, which led to the death of 16 people. And essentially the reason for this accident was the corrupt nature of Serbia's governments, cutting corners, cutting costs, and simply not having good enough quality control. Almost immediately, the Serbian Prime Minister and the Minister of Construction lost their jobs, were fired, but for the people essentially it was not enough because they saw at the root of the problem, not these individuals, but the entire Serbian government led by currently Aleksandar Vučić, who has already been in power in Serbia for a pretty long time now, and even though he's not really a dictator or anything, a lot of people do describe him as an autocratic leader, who is considered corrupt, who can actually crack down on free speech and so on. This is just what life in Eastern Europe is like, dudes. It's insane. And basically, since November of 2024 until today, there are huge protests happening pretty much every week in Serbia. A ton of people gather, and the government's reaction to it honestly has been kind of despicable. And the worst moment by far of it all happened pretty recently, where during one of the demonstrations, the Serbian protesters essentially had a moment of silence for the victims who passed away as a result of this roof collapsing, right? And during this moment of silence, the Serbian government used essentially a military-grade audio weapon, an LRAD, to disperse the crowd. And it sounds like essentially like a plane flying through the crowd. It's meant to leave you dissociated, leave you panicked. And even though Vučić, the president, then denied that they actually used it, for a lot of people this was yet another breaking point, and I feel like right now, these processes kinda just cannot be stopped. And by the way guys, once again, I want to compare everything to America. You see guys, this is what happens in Serbia when, as a result of government corruption, a roof collapses and kills people. People unite together, they go out on the streets and they protest together in the name of these people that passed away, right? If this would have happened in America today, if there was like some kind of accident like this where a roof caved in and fell, you know what would happen in America? They would probably like blame it on DEI or something. They would be endlessly talking about how the reason why the roof caved in is because they had so much, LGBTQ personnel or something. And basically they would just use this situation to only further divide the people between like the right and the left, the woke and the anti-woke. No, I mean really, think about it. If this happened in America, this is absolutely what would happen. Much to think about, right? Much to think about, all I'm saying. But yeah, to me personally, this entire situation in Novi Sad is absolutely crazy too, because I have a connection with Serbia. I've been to Serbia several times, right? And I've actually stayed in Novi Sad a couple of times, and I have been to that exact train station before they actually opened like the new renovated area. I had to just go through like this side, but I did, you know, go to that station all the time. I travel on a fast train from Novi Sad to Belgrade many times, and you know, it is absolutely insane that this happens. It is just extremely sad, and this is just the most obvious, perfect example and representation of how corruption can actually kill. And overall, looking at these protests currently happening in Turkey and Serbia, for me as a Russian, a country once again that I do believe is also suffering of an oppressive government, it is very inspiring to see this, and it is also kind of sad that, you know, at this point it almost feels like, you know, it's impossible to imagine like actual large protests in Russia of people actually like trying to say something to the government, trying to stand up to, you know, Vladimir Putin, and honestly, I do not even know what it would take, but nevertheless, in my opinion, these protests are extremely important, and you definitely should pay attention to what is currently happening in Turkey and Serbia. Hey guys, by the way, Editor Roman here. I forgot to mention something pretty important in this video, why I think actually we should talk about this more. What's quite interesting is that even though you might expect the West to support these protests and talk a lot about them, they kind of have been, at least the European Union, they kind of have been not really too loud about these issues. For example, Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, is actually in a pretty interesting position right now because he's basically pretty pro-Western right now. Like, he's been more pro-Ukrainian, more pro-NATO than like Trump, the president of the United States of America. So Europe is actually kind of staying away from this entire thing right now and kind of almost letting Erdogan do whatever he wants to do, because maybe the role that he plays and what he currently represents on the world stage. And it's actually very similar for Serbia as well, because Aleksandar Vučić has also been kind of getting on good terms with the EU recently, and sort of he's received like praise from Ursula von der Leyen pretty recently. And a lot of Serbian protesters, students who are actually pro-European Union, they're currently pretty disappointed with the fact that the European Union is not like openly denouncing the Serbian governments or whatever. So yeah, it's not a fun world to live in. What can I fucking say? Ugh, God. Anyways, guys, I guess that is gonna be pretty much it for today's video, though. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, then please make sure to slap the like button on it. If you guys would like to support me with a donation, go over to the link down in the description, buy me a coffee, or become a YouTube channel member. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace.